Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Social Selling Sisterhood podcast. This is a live interview taping, and I'm Lindsay Dollinger. I'm the host, and I'm super excited that Ashley Lyon is going to be with us today and telling you her story and giving us some tips and tricks. So, Ashley, thank you so much. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Of course. I love doing this with people. And Ashley and I ran into each other. We're Facebook friends first, and then we ran into each other at a women's event, which was really cool, which was a really fun event. And I kind of looked at her. I'm like, I think we're Facebook friends.
Yeah, I feel like I basically started my business a little before COVID.
Oh,
So
nice.
I feel like I have networked a lot on social media and Facebook. So I feel like I know a lot of people, but it's so weird to see them in person now. I'm like, oh my gosh, I know you, but I've never really met you in person.
I know. And that's the beauty of once you start building your business and get in some networks with women who are also building businesses. It's really fun to connect with other people, especially for the first time in person. Let me turn my light on. That makes me and so, yeah, COVID has definitely changed that a little bit, but oh well. So, okay, Ashley, tell us all about you, what you do, how you started doing what you do, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, my name's Ashley, and I have a company called Bloom Mama, and we are basically a full service design and branding a studio. And so there's a long story behind everything, of course, but basically, I worked in the corporate world for over probably 8 or 9 years, I would say, in advertising and marketing agencies. And I had my ups and downs there, and there's just a lot of turnover in that world. And I just didn't feel very secure. Um, and I also felt like I was uninspired, even though I was being so creative in my job all the time and I love designing. I just felt like I wasn't working with the people that actually inspired me and I wanted to help. So that's kind of where I decided to break off from the 9 to 5 world and start getting more freelance clients, and then that kind of slowly turned into my full-time job, and now it's been my full-time for about 2 years. So lots that have changed. I became a mom also, which kind of inspired me to start my business. And I love most of my clients are moms, so I really do love to work with mompreneurs because we kind of just get each other. It's crazy. We're juggling a billion things. So those are kind of the people I attract and I love helping and working with.
I love that. So your shift into your own thing was more gradual, right? Or did you just stop your job
Yeah.
and start up?
Well, I got fired. So that
Okay.
was kind of an immediate stop. But
Yeah.
I had from there I got a bunch of contracting jobs because I just didn't really know where I wanted to go.
Okay.
So I was kind of just testing different things out, and then I slowly stopped contracting for people and just started attracting my own clients.
And what sort of things do you do for your clients?
It's a wide variety, but my specialty is doing strategic branding and design. So, what I mean by that is there is a lot that goes into branding, and a lot of people just think it's kind of like a logo and making your business pretty. But what I like to do is really find the foundational work of your business and your dream clients and your positioning in the marketplace and build a brand on that. So it actually is strategic and it's maybe not just your favorite colors or something that looks pretty. It actually is attracting the clients that you want to bring into your business.
I was just going to say that. So why is it important? So a lot of the people listening to my show are network marketers, direct sellers. They're not all though.
Mm-hmm.
And so why is it important for us to stand out with our brand?
Yeah, well, I think I have worked with network marketers, and I think it's all the same when you're running a business. Every single business is in a saturated marketplace. No matter what field you're in, there's always going to be, you know, color street people. There's always, and for me, like, there's always going to be other designers and branding people. Um, but if you really get down to what sparks you and what fills you with joy and um, what fills you with inspiration, you can find your spot within that marketplace, so you bring those clients in because they relate to you. And really, that's what branding is, helping you be more relatable to your customers and the people that you want to work with. Um, and share values with too. That's a lot with, I work a lot with branding is your values, because people, if people don't relate to you or share your core values, they're probably not going to buy from you. So it kind of is just really good to differentiate you from such a big market.
I was just thinking, okay, so the activity that you led at the women's event, was
Mhm.
that about values?
Yeah,
What
it had we did a manifesto. So it had a lot to do with your core values and like what you want to bring into the world and how you want to really like present yourself into the world.
Okay, can you walk us through that? Because I guarantee you most people listening to this probably have no idea what a manifesto is. But it was a pretty simple, like not necessarily easy, but I feel like a very straightforward thing that you had us do.
Yeah. So the manifesto that we went through is basically I had the women write down their top 3 to 5 core values, and then from there write down like how you can incorporate that into your life. So every day you can have these reminders that like, oh, I want to lead my business with integrity, or if integrity was your word, or you know, another value might be like authenticity. Like, I want to be authentic in every single thing that I do. And that it just helps you kind of remind yourself how you want to show up in the world, and be the best person that you can be.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. It's also really hard to narrow those values down because just a little backstory, guys. So Ashley gave us this like I don't think everyone got it, but on the table were lists of values. And I'm like,
Mhm.
there's so many good words here.
Yeah.
What do I pick?
Yeah, and I like to always like narrow it down. And the same with branding. I narrow it down to your top ones, because that is like kind of your personal and business model, like what how you want everything to show up as.
Yeah, I love that. So when someone is like, okay, I'm ready to start branding, where do they start or where do you start with your clients once you guys are like, okay, we're gonna go?
Yeah, so I think that's kind of what makes me a little different than most, because I spend a lot of upfront work with my clients to really get clear on their goals, their dream clients, their personality as a brand. We get to like the very foundation of your brand and what you want it to be. And like that's dreaming big, like not maybe not what you want it to be right now, or like what it is right now, but like what do you see your brand being in 10 years? Because we need to show up that way. So I work really hard on trying to really pinpoint what it is this brand is and what how they want to show it to the world. Um, and then from there, we I take it and I do a lot of market research, and I kind of come up with a style and a look for that represents what we went over. And then I will do all of the messaging, positioning, values, all of the fun stuff, and then create one big brand out of it.
That's
That was
really
kind of
fun.
a very, very short,
No, no,
simplified version.
I mean, yeah, but I'm sure there's it's so intricate that it's really hard to like we would
Yeah.
be here for a really long time if we went through everything that you did, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're saying a brand is more than just your colors. what
Mhm.
other aspects, at least visually, that we can see are part of a brand?
Visually,
Mhm.
so there's a bunch of different areas. So, like, of course, the colors, like you said, there's the logo, which I think is really important because a really major part of branding is becoming recognizable
Mhm.
and having a like everywhere you see Apple, you know exactly what Apple is, and you get this vision of what that brand is. So you want your brand to kind of do the same thing. You want your logo, if somebody was to be scrolling, they would stop because they see your logo, because they know they like your stuff. They know they relate to your values. So that's a big thing is a logo, color
Mhm.
palette, fonts. But also, like, I always kind of describe your visual identity of like is like the vibe somebody gets when they go onto any of your platforms, whether it's social media, your website, if they get like a pamphlet somewhere, it's like the vibe you get from them. So you have to make sure it's all consistent. For example, um, you if you are selling something that is like marketed towards women, you wouldn't want like men in your marketing. You would have a very specific like dream client woman in your head that we've already kind of discovered and talked about. And that's what your vibe needs to be. Like that woman, her life, her lifestyle. And so that is starting to attract those people to you.
And if someone's listening to this and they're like, "Okay, I don't send printables and I don't have a website, I just use social
Mhm.
media," do they still need a brand?
For sure. Everything like just like I was saying, the scrolling. Everybody's scrolling and scrolling, and if you are grabbing a Google, quote image and just putting it on your Facebook, that's going to look like everybody else's stuff. But if you take your brand fonts, your colors, and your logo mark and put it onto a social media post, they'll know it's you, and they might stop because they already know. Like I said, they already know and like your stuff. So it kind of creates a lot more trust, and you can put it everywhere from your cover photo, which is basically a social media billboard, your profile picture, everything can be branded on there. And again, branding is more than just your visuals, it's your messaging too. So making sure that's consistent with your voice and everything.
Ooh, I love that. Yeah. One of the things that I hear a lot is people struggle with creating content, and I
Mhm.
feel like that's always like a big red flag in my mind that I'm like, "Okay, you either don't know who your ideal client is or you're not really clear on your branding," because I
Yeah.
feel like once you get those things, that content flows pretty
Mhm.
naturally if you're doing something that you love doing.
Yeah, and especially for, I would say, network marketers, it's branding is so fun with them because they are all selling the same product, but it's what you want to bring into your business and brand to add on to that.
Yeah.
So, like if you sold, I don't know, Arbonne or something, would you want to also add health and wellness and nutrition to your brand, because your brand is the whole thing.
Right.
um it's more than just your product, so it incorporates way more than just your product, and that's how you attract people, especially in that marketplace, is by making yourself different and adding on your interests that other people are interested in along with your product.
I love that so much, and I feel like that's almost why a lot of network marketers end up adding in something else that's also,
Mhm.
either their own thing or like you said with Arbonne, they become health and fitness trainers also, or they,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because it's already a
Mhm.
natural fit because it's already part of your brand if you've done a really good
Exactly.
building that up.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so fun to, like, figure those things out. And that's really, I guess we can get into pillars that might be helpful for your audience to know. So a lot of times when I'm working on social media content for a new client, we sit down and figure out their top 5 pillars. And this is interesting for network marketers because it's so much, like, again, so much more than just the product. It's their, their interest, their lifestyle. I usually do 5. So we come up with 5 different things you post about and talk about. So it's not just boring, like, sales things every day. It's a
Yes.
very, like, your brand becomes a personality of its own.
I love that. I love that so much. That's actually how I realized that I really wanted to add in a health and wellness company that I paired with, because I
Mhm,
was just always talking about fitness in my Peloton. And,
mhm.
I had been in a company before and had stopped doing that. But I was working with a coach and she's like, "Why do you post about health and fitness stuff all the time?" I'm like, "Because I really love it." And she's like,
Yeah.
"Nothing to do with nail polish." I'm like, "I know."
But it could, because, like, nail polish is a act of self-care.
Yes.
So self-care is your overall theme of your business, and that all can fit into that. And that's
That's
what
what
makes it interesting.
that's what I told her, and she's like, "I feel like you need to do a better job." I'm like, "Okay."
Well, it's just getting clear on your messaging and, only, picking 2 things and sticking with those, not being like, "Oh, like, I wanna be a nutritionist, and then, like, I want to also do skincare, and then I want to do nail polish," kind of just, like, narrowing it down a little bit and having one overarching, like, arching theme.
Yeah, and you used the example of Apple earlier. I always like to think about that because I see that a lot with women, especially in network marketing, because a lot of people like to join multiple companies, which I'm
Mhm.
okay with. But um, like with Apple, they started first with a computer, like a laptop
Yeah,
PC, and like you get really good at that. And then they added on, I don't know, whatever, a phone or, whatever came next. And then they introduced the iPod and then came the iPad,
yeah.
and it's like getting really clear and with your main brand and your one thing that you're getting known for, and then you can add something else in that fits and complements it.
Yeah, and, like, your content doesn't have to be selling. Like,
Mhm,
I think it's important for people, especially with network marketers, for them to show themselves and
mhm.
their personalities and their lifestyle. So that's a whole pillar by itself.
Yeah,
You can add in, your sales and promotional posts, but just kind of, like, talking about the things you like so people will learn to trust you and
yeah.
buy from you then.
Yeah. So do you have in a certain amount of time that you have your clients post? Are you like a once daily type of person? Do you like, because you have 5 pillars, so do you just kind of
Mhm.
recycle and go through like each one time a week? Do you have a strategy?
Yeah, I think it's, like, different for everybody, really. It just depends on, like, what kind of business they have. But,
Okay.
I mean, I would say at least 3 times a week, unless you're really trying to that's the sole place where you sell, and you obviously need to show up there more if, like, social
Mhm,
media is your platform to
mhm,
sell things. Um, but, like, my goal is 3 times a week, but I do a lot of, like, email and things outside of just social media.
gotcha.
But I think my biggest thing, with branding and business is to really try to figure out what feels good to you. That doesn't mean, like, be lazy about it. Like, you need to push yourself, obviously, and, like, be the best business owner that you can be. But, like, if you're killing yourself trying to get 7 posts in a week and it just feels really low energy and low vibe, like, it's not gonna attract the people you want anyways because you're hating doing it. So,
Yeah.
like, try to find a good balance, within your life and your business that you seem to find that works, and you can test it too. Take
Mhm.
3 months and test it, and then if that doesn't work, move on and test the next thing.
I love
That's what I'm kind of doing all year this year too, is just, like, testing different sale ways of selling to my
Mhm.
audience and then by the end of this year, I'm going to have a clear outline of what works and doesn't work.
Awesome. I love that. And I feel like that's okay to do with branding too, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You test things out and you see what feels like natural. And if something feels too forced, that's what when I first did the pillars activity, this would have been years ago. I don't even remember what it was, but I put something down for a pillar. And anytime that I went to post about it or talk about it, it just felt really forced. And I was like, okay, this is not
It wasn't in alignment with you.
Mhm.
And that's what my goal as I do somebody's brand, I like want it to be aligned so specifically to you and your mission that like it just brings you joy. Like I go based off intuition a lot and feelings. So which is a little different than some brands, but I just really want people to feel super connected and aligned to their branding and business, because otherwise, like, what's the point, like if you're not having fun, if you're not enjoying it, obviously there's your days, you have your days of like, ugh, I just want to sleep. But if you look back and you're like, I hate this, like I dread going to work, like I
Yep.
dread working on this, then it's time for you to shift and figure out what sparks your joy again.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. All right, I have a couple questions to wrap up. These don't necessarily have anything to do with your brand, but I guess it could.
Okay,
I just need to ask random questions at the end.
no problem.
What's your favorite social media platform?
I definitely love Instagram the best because
Okay.
I like doing reels, they're time consuming, but I think Instagram's more of like a visual platform, so I enjoy doing that more because I think the pretty grids are awesome.
Yeah, that's
um, so that's definitely like my my personal favorite.
okay. Morning or evening routine? Do you have one, either or both?
Um, I kind of When I first became a mom, I felt the pressure of having a morning routine and an evening routine. So then I kind of shifted, and now I basically preach daily routines,
Ooh,
um, because I, for one, can't be that structured in my
yeah.
own life. Like I have a billion things going on in my business, and I have a son, and my relationship. So I just make goals to do daily and hit those goals and don't have specific times. I just fit it in because it's a priority. So it takes a lot of pressure off of myself.
I love that. I love that answer. I've never heard that one before, but I really like that. Yeah, I have like 3 like focus items each day and like they can come in at any time during that day usually, but
Mhm.
they're my 3 things that, like I want to get done. And I
Yep,
like
that's
I,
exactly what I do.
mhm.
And usually my like routines, the daily routines are all like personal self-care. I don't typically have like a business, don't add business in that. I prioritize working out, I prioritize my food prepping, and I prioritize my meditation.
Ooh, I love it. Now, do you do a meditation app or how do you do meditation?
I right now I do Kundalini yoga meditations. So they're called Kriyas, and they typically last for 40 days. So I kind of have a
What?
a
I've never heard
yeah,
of
so
this.
yes, it's like it's a lot of energy work and like breath work.
Okay.
But it gets things moving fast. Like there's kriyas for different areas of your life. So right now I am doing a nervous system one, so it kind of expands your nervous system so you can have space for more. Because right now I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm like up to the top. So I
Yeah.
need to expand a little more so I can allow things to come.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm gonna have to look into that. I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen people post about it, but I didn't realize it was like
Mhm.
a program like that. That's really neat.
Yeah, it's kind of just like it's not really a program, but it just has like different options, I guess you can choose.
Okay. Okay, neat. That's so fun. And last question, dream vacation. If you could go anywhere in the world next week and the entire world was normal, where would you go?
Oh my gosh, I have like a whole list, but I think Italy is one of my tops. top ones, and then I don't know, I just, like, need to be on the beach.
Yeah, yeah. That's so funny you said that. I'm trying to rework our trip from summer that I'm supposed to take kids to Australia, and Australia is
Oh my
obviously not
gosh.
open. I know.
Yeah.
It's been like this whole thing. This would be like the third time rescheduling it. So I'm looking at backup
Mhm.
itineraries, and the kids had said Iceland, Italy, or Greece. And I'm like looking at the
Oh.
winter. I mean, all those places would be really cool, but I'm like, do you guys realize Iceland, like, it never actually gets hot?
Yeah.
This is not your typical summer, like, so when you said beach, I'm like, oh yeah, for sure, me too.
I know, yeah. I dream of the beach and I dream of the mountains, so if I
Ah,
get those once a year, I'm good.
yeah, nothing wrong with both ends of the spectrum there.
Yeah.
All right, Ashley, thank you so much for your time. This has been super
Thank
helpful.
you.
Where can everyone find you? And guys, I will link all this in the show notes as well.
Okay, so you can find me on Facebook. I have a Facebook group called The Elevated Mama, and I post a lot of branding stuff in there. You can go to my website, which is Bloom Mama Studio, and get on my newsletter, and I'm give a lot of freebies out. And you can also find me on Instagram, and I'm Ashley Lyon underscore underscore underscore. But you can see, I'll give you all those links. And I have, discovery calls if you free discovery calls if you need any of those things. And then I also will give you a link to for your audience for some free brand clarity call.
Ooh.
So those are super beneficial. So I can give you that link too.
Yes, great, guys. Yeah, I will for sure put that in the show notes. So make sure that you scroll down. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll have it in the captions there. But definitely support Ashley. Check her out,
Mhm.
join her newsletter, because her stuff that she posts, I know online, is super, super beneficial. And you guys can learn a lot from her.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Bye, guys. Thanks so